A while since I published something on my DIY eCRM. Things are moving along. I left the last video with this epic algorithm where you put in a concatenated address from Google Maps and pump out individual cells with the individual street name and suburb and whatnot out there. So I've got the green border that indicates inputs and outputs. See, green border indicates exogenous inputs and outputs. So now this is like an independent machine. It's surrounded by a border, which is why I call it boxed algorithms. So you put some information in like that and it comes out like that. Fantastic. So it's very easy now that I've got this algorithm, and now it's just plug and play. That's the whole point of keeping it simple, stupid. And of course I've got orange borders there to indicate drop down menus, other algorithms over here to the right. So I ended up cutting and pasting this algorithm half a dozen times because I've got half a dozen entities that I need the address for. You get the idea. The hard bit about cutting and pasting was the cell references with dollar signs in them. But there are a lot of them. If I cut and paste something with a dollar sign, it's referring to the original algorithm and not down below. So that took a bit of sorting to do. There was I hate how it zooms in. I want the zoom to where I put the cursor. That's where I want it to zoom in, not to the top left. If anyone is a developer, fix that, please. I mean, Steve Jobs would have. All of these dollar signs had to go. This one didn't have to go really because I was just putting only the numbers really had to go because I was cutting and pasting directly below the original algorithm. So therefore, I wasn't moving across letters. I was just going down numbers. So anyway, you get the idea. Some of them had to keep their dollar signs. Find words with thoroughfare types. Here we go. These have got dollar signs on them. A, whatever that is. I hate the zoom function on the top left. Screw that. I want to zoom in where my bloody cursor is. So A, E, 47, all these have dollar signs. Why? And that's simply because it's referencing to something exogenous from the algorithm, and that would be this list of street names, suburbs, courts, arteries, avenues, blocks, bridges, centres, whatever. So that is a list there. So they had to keep their dollar signs, and apart from that, the cutting and pasting process went. Okay, now, as you can see, cutting and pasting the same formula for multiple use is the theme. Otherwise, you're going to get bogged down and complex and disastrous. Speaking of which, I had a data input page, but I realized that this is an eCRM, a DIY, do-it-yourself eCRM, and perhaps we're going to have more than one, let's say, agent, in my case, retailer, which would be one retailer I'd subcontract to, or maybe two, or installers. So this is set up more for a bigger company now, where I've got multiples of installers and multiples of electricians. So it's ended up being a basic spreadsheet, no merge cells here, it's just data only here. So traditional use. And as you can see, the format is exactly the same in every one. Sure, there's some empty cells here because designers have an accreditation type there, but let's say retailers do not have an accreditation type, so that remains empty. Got a bit of a reference error here, but that's because I'm working on something. And on that point of cutting and pasting, let's have a look at what I'm doing. I'm adding in a second row here. Obviously, all this data ends up in a VLOOKUP function based on whatever information is in the first cell. Look up whatever's in the first cell down here and plug it into whatever column is referenced, as you can see with the VLOOKUP function and the big red square. So that's pretty much what's going on, and that way I can pull up any data I want from this list and plug and play into wherever I need to put it. For example, here, customer number 3. I don't want customer number 5 anymore. And I've got these drop-down menus because I like to proofread, if you would, everything I put in here. See, this one here changed, so I've put a fictitious postcode there ending in 3. As you can see, I've actually populated all of my data with coded references, so I can proofread everything. Yes, everything's cross-referencing customer 3 properly. Very good. There's an example of that. And that is just referencing, in this case, this row here, which I'm now inserting. Now look at this. Okay, I've just put this in here. No, I'm up to this page here. I want to put this one in. So I'm going to add a line, insert rows above, and I'm going to put a column to the left, copy, paste. Very good. Now here I've got this one is referencing it's referencing the cost form. I want it to reference the data form. So we're talking about retailers here. See, that's why it's cross-referencing wrong, and it's not finding anything in here. STC form data equals, yes, I've built another form here. This is already published actually. This is something I used to use, and I've just cut and pasted it into here. And what do we want? The retailer name here, that one there we go. So retailer name 5, it's looking up retailer name 5 with the VLOOKUP. Now this one comes from the form. Now I want to pinch this formula here, which I've already written. Now this is the beauty of doing everything modular and systematic. I'm going to put that in there, paste. I'll work it out, there we go. Now what it's doing here is if cost C4, so it's referencing the same cell here, up there, that's what we're working on here, and it's referencing boxed algorithms. Let's go and have a look at that. Now this drop down should be changing to, this cross-reference is wrong here, data validity, indirect. Now this is what I want to talk to you about. Indirect is a function that doesn't take whatever's in the cell as text, but reads it as a formula. Pretty much that's it. So it's going to take whatever's in this boxed algorithm as a formula. So let's go and see boxed algorithms. So where's our boxed algorithms? It says go and have a look at what was it? AR30. AR30 is here. So it's supposed to be giving me a drop-down list of the retailers. Something wrong there. Retailers A7 to 1,048,576, which is every row on a sheet basically. Retailers A7. I'm going to pause this while I find out what the little glitch is. Yeah, I know what it is. Since I've been moving cells around, I noticed that sometimes if you've got a data validity here, it won't cross. I've got to change that reference there, because right now it's not looking up in retailers. It's not looking up the retailer name here. It's looking up this here, agents list. That's why I'm getting agent list there. I should be getting the solar retailer. Okay, got it working. Now I can choose a retailer name with that reference. So once again, what is data validity? We've got an indirect function which takes something in the cell not as text but as a formula. So it's referencing this cell, and I've got to take whatever's in this cell as a formula. Let's go and have a look at what's in that cell. Now because I've changed the rows and columns and stuff, I had to change this reference here. B was A7, now it's B8. And same here, B 1,048,000. So that's all I did, change those two. Now what's going on here, we've got a VLOOKUP, okay? It's VLOOKing up whatever's in this header here, up at Solar Retailer, and it is cross-referencing it with text here, and here's the VLOOKUP here, column 3, put whatever's in column 3. Now as you can see, column 3 is referencing the same name as I've got of my sheet. So that's a sheet reference there. $ retailers. They're retailers, installers, so on and so forth. So it's referencing a sheet. Now it's referencing a cell. Okay, in these. I might have to change a few more of these now that I've moved some rows and things around, because they're not going to change automatically when I move things around. So that's why it's really good to have the same thing, the same layout for everything, because when you do edit, you can just repeat the same process over and over. A lot less complicated, and it still gets complicated when you're pulling out formulas like this. So I've got a text there, I've got a text there and a text there. And what's happening here is just concatenation of all of that. and now I've got a formula in text form. So now with the indirect function, it's looking at that and saying that's not text, that's a formula. So now it's telling me to look at in the retailer sheet B8 to B1,048,576. So that means when I come here, it's the drop down menu is retailer name 1 right down to 1,000,000 if I've got 1,000,000 retailers. So there we go, retailer name number 5, number 6. Now this here I have to probably cross-reference because I'm looking at box algorithm AR29. No, it's not working well. See that? It's looking up retailer name 5, not retailer name 6. See that? I've put in all these test references. So it's looking up here instead of here. So we'll go back to AR29, which is here. And obviously I've got to change that to 5. B5, there's my new reference. So now when I come back here, my data validity is saying retailer name 6. So yes, modifications after you've done something can get complicated, and I've got to go through this and sort it all out. But at least when I'm doing things like adding an extra row, which I need, unfortunately, at least it's manageable because it's pretty much the same layout everywhere. This is the secret to organizing huge amounts of data. Same thing over here with this huge algorithm that I had to cut and paste several times. What else have I been up to lately? What do we got over here? I've got a name separator here. It's pretty much based on the same substitute, little arrows sort of separating names into cells. You got this drop down menu here. Why? Because let's for example go here. I've got to get a first name and a last name, unfortunately. So this form here, one of the forms I've got to fill in. So the customer's first name, for example, here, I've got choices. That name has been broken down into virtually every combination. Rep, name, and his surname is name, rep name 3, name 3. Name, I'm going to change that to his first name to rep name 3. Okay, now this one here we need a cross-reference to, yeah, there we go. So as you can see, got a little dot, nothing's auto-filled because I might want to actually manually fill this form. So if I do that, I'll delete a formula so that you go, and it's also good for proofreading, having these little drop-down menus referencing everything. Data validity does have a bit of an issue, as you saw, when you change things, so try to get it right the first time. Otherwise, you're going to have to proofread everything all over again. As you can see, this is working well, and the idea is, well, now I need to fill in this form. Instead of looking up data, cross-referencing it, and pulling my hair out, I just have to go click, and there it is. So that's the whole point. Speaking of Speedy Gonzalez, once all that's in there, check out this formula here. This is a nightmare for if you're going to manually fill in a form. Oh, what a nightmare. This is all the legal small print that I've got to sign off on. Now, look at this. It's got a concatenate function here. And it's concatenating a whole bunch of cells. So I, installer 1 with accreditation number, installer accreditation number 1. So as you can see, I've got data put in there to fit in the text because that's what you want. You'd be filling this form for years, trying to fill in that manually, only to stuff it up and get it wrong. So let's go to another. This form's called STCs. I've got my own page specifically for all the formulas in there, mainly drop-down menus and things, cross-referencing other cells and whatnot. And here's an example. There's that concatenate function. So here's all the crap that I've got to sign off on. So it starts with the letter I with a space. You'll see the space here. You've got to put a lot of spaces in. Installer 1. So it's cross-referencing whatever the installer name is there. With accreditation number, more text. Install, cross-reference another cell there to find out the installer's accreditation number. Every time you have to insert some text, you have to break up the text and reference a cell, break it up, reference a cell. This one here, there, for example, is referencing a cell. Now we're back to text again, as you can see. so on and so forth. Here's a whole bunch of text I got to put in one. Now here's something that has to go in only under certain circumstances, that being if it's a standalone power supply in my case. So if it references a cell and that cell says standalone power, then put this text in, otherwise put nothing. Right now we have a standalone selection. More text, blah, 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 blah. And that goes on for all of these legal statements. And this is the installer statement, designer statement, all broken up. Imagine, look at how many bits of information I've got to interject within all of that text. This one's a zinger. The retailer statement, look how short the text is between inputs. There's the owner statement, same thing. What a nightmare trying to fill that in manually. So I just pretty much have to just fill in data here. No biggie. So once I've just populated this, and this, everything's going to be auto-filled, and I just have to go and, redo everything. ABM retailer 6, because we've got retailer 6 now. The ABN number is 6, phone number 6. Just go through it, fill it all in, and everything is automatically populated, which is the whole point of this. I reckon it takes me as long to do the form work manually for one solar job as it takes for me to develop this whole spreadsheet. Slight exaggeration, but you get the idea why this is necessary. Otherwise, you're going to be buried in a nightmare of red tape. You're going to be tangled. You're going to walk in the office. It's going to be filled and overflowing with red tape, and you're going to be stuck in the middle of it. What am I doing with my life? Exactly. Well, do this one. I actually build these once every 4 or 5 years. And I use them for 4 or 5 years, and they go, oh, you know what? It's getting a bit lame. It's getting a bit crap. I'm stuffing around too much. I'm getting buried in red tape. It's time for a new update, bigger, better, smarter. And that's what this is. All of that stuff is concatenated here. It's ready for a sign-off of liability. So the administrators of administrative administration are happy, who just validate their role in society by creating more red tape. Before I signed off, is how this is the publication page, which I can see mirrored from my dashboard, and why it's not displaying all of the information here, because I don't want all the information displayed from here to there, because I've got a lot of empty stuff. I'm not going to be quoting every particular item, where it be PV conduit, for example, or let's say, I don't know, string fuses. This is solar related stuff from a drop down menu. Who cares? You can work that out. Travel expenses, for example. Let's say I put a number in here, like I don't know, 30 kilometers, let's say. Now I've got something published here. Fantastic. However, the problem is I don't want this space here. So let's sort descending. There it is. So where's travel? 30 by. So it's taken all the info from here and kept it in line with this drop down. Now, the reason why this drop down, the publication page, is not the dashboard page, I can't directly fill the spreadsheet, is because this is individual cells. Sort will not work with merge cells, and the secret to cross-referencing the same everything is dollar signs in the formula. So this here references $ column E to 30. So no matter where these get moved around, it's always referencing the static setting concrete cell there with the dollar signs in the formula, and that solves that problem. Come on, get rid of it. And so this will end up here, where it's referencing a cell on the dashboard down here, and so on and so forth. You can sort. I found sort descending is the best. Let's sort descending in order of cost. This cost is not in the drop down, but it still references correctly. And the reason for that is it's referencing this little sneaky cell in the middle, which is just a nice spacer to give the layout a good, better look. But there's white text in there, and that of course is referencing a cell, again with dollar signs. I just thought I'd add that on to the end of the video, just to show you how my dashboard is not exactly the same as my publication. So there you go. Now I can piss off. See you. Bye.